What's up, fam? Farmer Q here, and today we're about to get into some garden work. We're going to show you some of the changes we made. Yeah, it's pretty dramatic, but we're getting ready for the fall season. We got some new area that we've already added some compost to. We're going to add a little bit more compost to it. We're going to also add some wood chips to it as well to protect it from the sunlight that's going to be coming down on it. We're going to be watering a little bit today, but I just wanted to show y'all a little bit about how I come about doing this kind of a process. So just stick with me as we reposition some of the drip and staple it down, get some water down with our hand water because we just want to spend some time in the garden today. So let's go ahead and get it. All right, fam, we don't have much time, but we do have some beautiful daylight, and we probably got about 2 hours that we can really get some of this stuff done. As y'all can see, we have the compost laid down. We have the other bed re-amended. We have these beds re-amended as well. I went ahead and also took out the landscape fabric. So yeah, that happened. I'm gonna go ahead and pull the weeds myself, and I really think that I can really make that drip be more effective without that fabric there. But you know, we'll see what happens. But I'm excited to actually try out the stuff in the future for the fall and then for the future gardens as well. So right here we got the Sugar Rush peach pepper. It's beautiful. I mean, it is just kind of doing its thing. It's been out here the whole time from seed. Well, not from seed, but from a seedling. I put it out here. I didn't let this grow indoors at all, so it's just been outside the whole time. And I'm gonna get it together. As y'all can see, I'm gonna actually get this drip here in a better position, you know, because the landscape fabric's not here anymore. So now I can reposition the drip in the most optimal position for the beds and make sure that the beds are actually getting moist. But what I'm going to also do to accommodate that as well is put wood chips on top of the drip. So we're going to try that. I know that I can put the drip on top of wood chips as well, but I'm actually curious to see how it would work out with me putting the wood chips on top of the drip. So we're going to do that because we're always trying to see how things work out, right? So now what we're going to do is just get some of these staples down on this drip, because now we can establish it, and I feel like I'm really going to be able to get this drip to be a lot more effective. Not that it wasn't effective this last time around, but as the later season progresses, as the evaporation potential increases within the environment, I feel like you need a buffering of sorts, which in this case is going to be the wood chips. And I really feel like this is going to help the whole process of the moisture retention in the soil a whole lot, because we're going to really focus heavily on making sure that we can get even water distribution as well as sufficient oxygen transfer within the soil. So we've got our drip stapled, and it's actually stapled into the ground now, because this is considered the ground now because we actually removed the landscape fabric. So we're going to keep stapling it on this side as well, because we snatched the landscape fabric out of this side as well. We might put a little bit of compost over top of the drip, but we're not going to cover it with compost. Just make sure that it's really making good contact with the ground. We got the rest of our staples over here, and now we can use a lot less staples because it actually contacts the ground a lot easier now. And the shape is pretty much there as well. I mean, it's not like the shape is not where we want it to be or anything like that. But yeah, this is now the ground, so it's gonna be a lot different, and I think it's gonna be better like this as well, because I've actually cultivated this whole area with bounds and bounds of wood chips over the last year and a half. So the soil is very carbon rich. It has a very high potential for storing nutrients within it, so I'm really going to take advantage of that, making sure that there's a lot of carbon-based material for the soil to really have to digest. But we can take this drip and make sure this on top of the compost.
There you go. It's not directly inside the compost, but it's kind of just inside of it to the point where the moisture is going to really be transferred really well within it. This has really good contact. Then we're going to come through with our wood chips. All right, we're back. We got the wood chips. So now what we're going to do, we're just going to crack our bag open partially. And I'm going to go through the beds. I'm just going to pour it on the beds, on the top layer of them, a light layer, but I'm going to cover the compost that we just laid with wood chips. And oh yeah, wood chips rob all your nutrients. Oh no, you can't use wood chips. What are you doing? Nah, we're gonna see what happens. All right, there we go. Now we're just gonna spread them across the top. Make a light layer like that. And when we go back to plant, we're just gonna make burrows because we know the compost is underneath the wood chips. And another thing that the wood chips help out with is when you're worried about, I'm using too many nutrients in my feeding, wood chips, they help buffer the nutrient activity inside of your soil. So just by having these here, they're gonna by default take some of that excess nitrogen that's going to build up in your soil, but it's also going to trade off while being able to help keep your soil moist. Nitrogen is so free in the atmosphere, that's the last thing we have to worry about. The only thing that the wood chips take away is nitrogen. And you can account for nitrogen, no worries. Just don't work the wood chips too deep into your soil. I mean, just spread it over the top of it. And I'm just covering any of the irrigation that I see with the wood chips to a degree. And if I want to plant inside of the wood chips, I just make a burrow and plant a plant directly in that spot. And inevitably, the plants are going to have a lot more moisture. And then we're going to come through with some more and make sure that everything is covered. We don't want like a huge covering, but we definitely want a covering. These wood chips are already like somewhat partially decomposed as well. You know, they're not like fresh off the tree or anything like that. So they're going to get going real quick. And we already have a really strong base of mycelium out here. The fungal activity as far as the wood chip decomposition is going to be at a maximum now, and that's really going to help with the plant's fruiting capabilities. That's one thing that a lot of people don't really discuss or talk about, is that a lot of your plant available phosphorus in nature comes from your fungi, because they break down this wood material, and they're the only thing in nature that can break down lignin, which is what wood is primarily composed of on its outer shell. And you know, it's amazing what they can do. So we have to really give credit where credit's due as far as the fungi go. The fungi really are fun guys. So it's just all in the circle of life and the circle of nature. You see this grass, you got to deal with grass. It's fine. Grass is not the enemy. Grass is not the enemy. So like I said, we're going to come through with a little bit more on the outer edge here. Really just cover up our compost. Make sure it's nice and protected. Yeah, let me rip this open just a little bit. Oh, yep, that's good. Perfect. So now we're just sprinkling off the top, really just making sure that everything's covered. As y'all can see, when the sun starts shining on it, it's not going to be beat up by the sun's rays. And that's the whole objective, because the straw, as the season progresses, gets really bad at protecting it. And if you go too thick with the straw, you end up with like some mold problems sometimes. So I'm just bringing some more wood chips in, and then we're gonna cap it right there, because we still have to do our bed. We have a bag and a half, so we got plenty for our bed here. But we're gonna go ahead and spread what we just put down. We're gonna get some more. I didn't realize that we needed a little bit more right here, but that's fine, we got plenty. And these beans, they really like wood chips, so it's one thing to keep in mind for your bean plants. They love when you have wood chips around, because they are not super heavy nitrogen feeders from what the nutrients are that you put down. So when you have these wood chips down, they help buffer the nitrogen in the medium, and the beans can actually eat off of their nitrogen that they produce for themselves, because they have nitrogen fixing nodules on their roots. And by nitrogen fixing, I mean, yes, they create their own they draw nitrogen from the atmosphere through their roots. It's a pretty cool process. Beans and wood chips go hand in hand. So we got some really nice coverage going here. I can't visibly see my drip anywhere, and that's where I want to be. I want my drip completely covered by these wood chips, because that's going to really help with the water distribution of the whole situation. And you know, I'm going to hand water today, but in the future when I'm running my drip, I want to be able to really depend on the actual drip itself to provide the water that I need to provide. So we're going to wood chip everything else down the line. I'm going to wood chip this bed over here too, but right now we're focusing on this area. So let's go ahead and get this bed complete, then we'll move on. So let's take a second to check out these Taiwan yard long beans. Aren't they crazy? This is just ridiculous. They look insane. Look at this. Just look at this. These are definitely every bit of probably 3 feet. Well, 2.5. This one's 2.5 feet. But yeah, these are long. We're gonna put wood chips on top of the pots as well to protect those from the rapid evaporation of the summer season as well. Just partially cover the bed over here for now, because it has so much plant cover, and like it literally doesn't need as much wood chips. I'll cover the bare areas, but over here I'll make sure the whole bed's covered, because we actually get some sunlight on that soil. And I'm telling you, these wood chips, they revitalize the soil to such a degree that I'm telling you, it's just not as big of a deal as people make it out to be. All right, we have our drip covered, and goodness, it looks so much better. I'm excited to actually get some water down on these beds. So now we've got our wood chips laid down, and we're just gonna get some water drafted up, and we're gonna water it in. We're gonna get them all nice and moist and get good contact with the soil, make sure that everything's in place. But you know, before we do that, why don't we come over here to the tomato bed, and we get our pitchfork right here, and we really just kind of work the soil up some. I can stand up on the edges of these beds and do it, but I really want to kind of come over here and use this as kind of a broad fork. I'm gonna take this pitchfork here and just get it kind of deep and kind of work the soil up some. I'm not gonna break it, but I want to just fluff it, create some room for air to get in there, because compaction does happen. So I want to just get up in here and just work these areas up some. And this is where the corn roots were previously, so as the corn roots break down, we're just kind of opening up the soil where they were, because we're going to come in this bed and we're going to add some more compost to this bed. Yeah, this pitchfork is on its way out. I'm going to have to get a new piece of wood for it because the wood is definitely rotted out on it, but we're using it for what we can for right now. I'm just, oh, there's our pitchfork, but I'm not going to break the soil. I might still be able to use it like that. Yep. There we go. I'm really pretty much done with this bed. I'm just trying to really get a good workup. There we go. So this stick is done. Get a new stick. right, fam, we have fun out here getting the garden together. We got everything ready for the fall. We're gonna get these seedlings planted indoors, and we're gonna have them ready to go when the fall season is kicking in strong. So look, I had a great time out here in the garden getting all that ready. It just really fills that space of need for me to just be out here and be with these plants. So I'm just super happy about that, fam. And I'm guessing y'all know what that means at this point. That's Farmer Q out.